Happy Monday, traders. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Monday, the 16th of November, 2020. This is episode number 1880. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss that is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results, as you probably already know. Some great news out of Moderna. I was tweeting last night about two pieces that were likely driving the news. The first being that President-elect's COVID panel says that they believe, or they've concluded that a shutdown, a total lockdown, would be unfavorable, and it's something they don't want to see happen. They don't want to keep on the table. That gave us a small pop, and then there was a rumor at the time last night that about 6 p.m. my time, Chicago time, there was a rumor also that Moderna may be coming out with something. Again, the tweet was from last night. That the vaccine results may hit as early as tomorrow, and that came to fruition. The results out of Moderna are much stronger, or overall better than what Pfizer and BioNTech had informed us of just a week before. The timing's quite amazing. Some of those results include the 94 a 94.5% effectiveness, and the room temperature results from this vaccine. One of the issues with the Pfizer vaccine was that it was going to be difficult to transport. This has a more stable outcome. Who knows? We'll see how it plays out, but this is good news, and the expectation is that this vaccine, in fact, just recently it was released that this vaccine may hit as soon as late December. This is Dr. Fauci saying this on the Today Show. So the market has responded very, very strong. And it's very, very strong until, and we'll see what the results are. The SOC of the Moderna news, specifically the Moderna news, is 3608.75 in the S&Ps. And so this is an area that we're approaching again. The market opened in a gap up, the ES opened in a gap up, and has popped higher since, pushing through the 3600. The overall risk the risk sentiment is risk appetite is risk on for today, with crude leading the pack. Crude trading at 41.95 at $1.82, or 4.54%. 4.54%. The Russell again taking a lead, rotation into the Russell, up 33.1 points, trading at 1776.8 all-time highs, or 1.9% up. The Dow Jones is up 452 and has come off a little bit. The Euro Stoxx up 46 points, 1.34%. The DAX is also strong at 137, up 1.05%. And the S&P is up 33 and a quarter points, or 0.93%. The bonds are off 11 ticks. The bonds trading at 171.27. And that's where we stand. The NASDAQ is off. This is very, very similar to what we saw last Monday, where the NASDAQ was a complete drag on the indices, with the Fangman stocks really, really weak throughout that Monday. And if you recall, Monday ended up selling off into the afternoon to come in line with the NASDAQ. So we'll be watching out for that. The S&P has pushed as far as 36.37 and currently trading 36.15. Again, the SOC is 36.08. So that's it's pretty decent. Pretty decent action overnight. One of the things I wanted to kind of share with you a little bit that I was looking at yesterday is how the VIX has been operating. I'll show you that here. The VIX index I'll include this in the review segment. The VIX index, this is a chart that goes back 504 days. That's 2 years of trading. And we could see that the VIX really took off earlier this year during the pandemic and hit really extreme highs and has come off and has been in a range between 45 and 20 and has been going sideways. It looks to me like it is likely to push through this low of 20, which brings us into it's what I would call its quote unquote normal range. Its normal range as if we break lower. As we break lower, when it gets into its quote unquote normal range, premium pricing of the options gets into line. There will likely be less volume, less range, and the trade is likely to get tougher in terms of opportunity or spots to take advantage of. We clearly don't want volatility way up in the 80s and 70s and 60s and 50s really, but in the range of the 20 to 30, this is pretty decent. Just keep an eye on the VIX as we continue to move forward. The VIX is going to price in the risk premium looking a month out on the SPX. So this is kind of a bigger or longer term measure of how things are being priced in or how the future is being priced in today. Let's take a look at what was expected on Friday. The main scenario was to pull back into this 47 area right here, pull back into the 47 area, impulse up, consolidate at the overnight high at 35.69, which is a double top, if you recall, there and there. Consolidate there and then squeeze to 75, push to 81, and then get into the 90, 92, 94 area, this measured move. Expected it to push to 90 and come off. So the low being around 47 right here at this stock zone, this gray area. Again, this was done pre-market, and the high being around 90. Let's look at what actually happened. Here's what we got. We got an open auction just as expected, a push to 47.50 instead of 47. Remember, the number we're looking for on the downside is 47. Turns up. There's your first impulse. Breaks the red line, wider than normal rotation. Consolidate. Second impulse right there. And then starts to squeeze up before we get a third impulse. This is the consolidation at 69 right here. This is what it looks like in reality versus in the lines that I'm drawing. And then it finally gets to where it gets to the 35.90, the first measured move level. 35.90 on the dot and finishes at the high. Again, this was the pre-market perspective, the plan pre-market to open in an open auction, dip down towards 47 right there. First impulse consolidate, second impulse consolidate, third impulse consolidate, push to 90 and pull back. And here's what actually happened. Open auction, drop to 47, first impulse consolidate, second impulse consolidate, third impulse consolidate, and it pulled off a fourth, but it pushed to 90 and came back off to finish the week at 35.81 and a quarter. They don't always work. They don't always work that way, but this one kind of Friday, it kind of hit on all cylinders and was pretty much spot on. The rotations down looked very sincere in that push to 47. Also had a pretty good rotation, but overall we were in the upper distribution of the range, and the expectations we would test the low volume node and get a rejection here. There's there's a little bit of room below as we push into the 40.3875 for the prior close. But as long as it doesn't do that, we are likely to squeeze higher given the way the market was set up. So this is a classic view of how the auction works and its predictability. It's not always this accurate, but it overall we can't. Accuracy is not what makes money, it's execution, and our goal is to hang in. Once we catch it, is to hang in there. So overall, though, as we leave the open down here with the high way up here, the open is at 35.53.50 on Friday with the high of 35.90. The delta was just not with it. The delta basically on the close came back almost to zero, finished plus 3,000. But it seems to me like as we push higher, the aggressor buyer is not really present. We've seen that here the whole week last week, starting with Monday. Here's what's happened overnight. We opened up in a small gap. Here it is. So there's the gap. We opened up in a small gap with a low of 35.8650. We immediately went into a buying spree. Pretty good delta on the buying. Immediately pushing up and then consolidating and grinding up for most of the session. Built a nice high volume node here at 36.12, 36.10 to 36.12 range. This range here looks pretty solid to me. And then it went sideways until the Moderna news, which hit right here with an SOC, as I said, at 36.0875. And then from there, it spiked up to 36.37, even with the all-time RTH high at 36.45 and a quarter last Monday, and the and then the all-time high overnight is 36.68. Is it 36.68? I believe 36.68 right there. That's the overnight high on Monday's session. So that's really where we went. Here's the thing. This huge range that we have here really is quite unimpressive. I mean, it's not really that big. It's 50 points, which the S&P has been covering in a few rotations intraday. We used to do 50 points, 52 to 54 points a week in terms of range. So when we're projecting range up and down from the open, we are looking for about 52 to 54 points. But this move of about 50 points overnight happened on how much volume? Yeah, 287,000. That is really, really, really poor. There's no holiday that I'm aware of today. The calendar is full of the calendar is full of Fed speak, and this entire movement was not really occurring on very high volume, unless my data, something's wrong with my data. Hang on. Can someone check to see that these are correct? I don't know if it just seems really odd to me that this is all we could muster up with a high of 36.37, and so to me this is suspect. The action here is suspect. It doesn't look like it is likely to sustain these higher prices. It looks like the market is not auctioning or facilitating well on the buy side. It's really not kind of chumping through the higher prices as we move higher, which is a concern. And where's the volume here? Where's the participation? So to me, it just seems like for this kind of movement, it is not really impressive. Remember, 50 points of range, and remember, 194K is currently the norm or the expected value for volume overnight. If you're not tracking volume, boy, you're missing out on the second part of the equation. You've got the first part of the equation with price, but if you're not tracking volume, this is bad news because volume is what confirms price or tells us the kind of quality we have in terms of price. So 288,000 on 194, and this kind of movement is quite poor. So that's a warning shot for everybody listening here that there isn't very good follow through to the buy side given the type of action and the type of news we've gotten. This is suspicious to me. And so I'm going to be paying attention to how it responds to the buy side this morning, and we may be sellers today. We may be looking at selling into pops higher, looking for that SOC at 3608.75 and a retest at 3600 from above. This is what's shaping up. In order to reduce the drag on this home PC that I have, or this home laptop, I start at home and then head into the office. I have to take my daughter to daycare these days, as my wife is also running her practice. So it's not as powerful as my workstation in my office downtown. But so I took a screenshot of the of Bookmap at just about 5 or 10 minutes before the trader bite. And this is what we have. There's very little we can glean from the order flow up here. It's very, very choppy. The most important thing to take away here is the offers up at 36.48 through 51. This is all I see that is quite solid, and it goes quite a while. It goes way back. It carries over to Friday, and it's been sitting here a while. So as we push our way up here, this is an area we'd want to pay attention to. But overall, what we saw with the takeoff here at 3608.75 is that it did lift a fair amount. There's pretty good delta on the buy side, but all of it pretty much was taken back. And so the liquidity is not there to give us an indication of where the market had clear intent and what it did following that clear intent. And that's kind of troublesome to me, along with how it's treating the volume. Back to the review segment. Here's what we've done on the daily. This was last week. We still have one-time framing triggered here when the week closed last week, and then we held last week. Here's the catch. The catch is the compression in the weekly range. So look at this box. This box's range versus last week's range. So this was Monday. Remember, we sold off on Mondays. I talked about we poked into the prior week's point of control almost to the dot, if you recall. 35.05, very important. We went to 35.0650 on the low. We went to revisit on Thursday and could not, and then started to climb up, and we went to 35.90 on Friday. Just remember these numbers. You got to remember these numbers. You have to remember the story. It's a lot like, you know, these levels are like street signs and you're driving. Consider yourself a cab driver or something. If you don't recognize street signs and recognize where they are relative to each other, then it's very, very hard for you to get to any kind of destination or know that you're kind of moving in the right direction for your bias, whatever that is. And then today we're opening inside of the prior week despite this fantastic news, and we could not take out last week's RTH or, of course, Globex high. This all looks suspect to me. This looks like a very easy target to end the one-time framing up this week. So this week I'm expecting this high to be difficult to take out. At least a 68 is likely to be difficult to take out. It looks like the structure below us is still weak, and we're likely to move down into good consolidation areas before we have the fuel to keep moving up. Maybe on the resolution of this election or something like that. But the fact is, last week's low is well within range. It's only about 108 points away or so, and 109 points. And to me, that's not very far to finish off or to end this one-time framing up. So if it fails to take out 36.45, it starts to consolidate and move back into the range and takes this 35.06, 35.05 area, then we are back in the point of control of this region, which is 36.60, 34.60, 34.60. So there's quite a bit to hang on to, and quite a bit of range if you do get into that trade. And then beneath there is the big one, which is way down here at 33.62. 33.62 becomes the big balance area below us. So I feel like this is, I can't extend this MC out to this area because we don't have overlap. But my sense is that the market, given the volume it's operating at on the buy side, given the delta, look at this. We're moving up all week last week, right? From this low of 35.06, 50, all the way to 35.90. Look at the delta all week. It's going down. Just keep an eye out. I'm not telling you to get short. I'm just saying this move up is suspect. It doesn't have the kind of play that I would expect on a strong move like we did over here with the delta turning up. It just seems to have petered out on the Pfizer news, and the market is kind of exhausted all week last week. It was a pretty choppy week, okay? So let's take a look at what's expected for today. I know this is a little bit long in a tooth today in terms of a trader bite, but there's quite a bit to cover. I didn't cover the calendar today, but I'm going to tell you that the calendar is full of central bank speakers. We had ECB Guindos this morning. We had ECB President Lagarde. We had the Bundesbank Moderna. We had ECB's Merch this morning. We've got Fed's Clarita at 12. We've got BOE's Haskell at 12:30. We got Fed's Daily at 1:45 tomorrow. ECB's Guindos at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got BOE Governor Bailey tomorrow. We've got, oh my God, Lagarde again. We got BOE's Marsden, Fed's Bostic, Fed's Daily, Fed's William, Fed's Daily again tomorrow. And Wednesday, we have a bunch of them, Fed's Williams, Ballard, Bostic. Oh, geez, these guys must get paid. They're like lawyers. They must get paid by the word or something because they are just not staying in. Yappity, yakety, yak. So that's what we have to deal with today. We have a news risk, quite a bit of news risk. That on top of this contested election with new allegations of cheating and new lawsuits and things like that, it's likely to be a very, very much driven market. On the first scenario today, an open that attempts to push up on the good news, probably not going to get through 36.21 here. 21, expecting an impulse down, take out the overnight point of control, take out the SOC, and then start to move towards the 3600 before we pop through in towards the yesterday's Friday's high. Friday's high is down here at 90, and we're looking for 3600, the double O here, to be tested. And for us to push into these measured moves from above. I'm expecting selling this morning. I'm looking for buy the rumor, sell the news type of movement coming into today. Secondary, an open auction that squeezes higher and then holds steady before pushing. Testing lower, testing on the low side, the SOC, and then pushing through and getting into the 26 area. I'm not expecting much farther than that. I'm not expecting too much on the buy side. We're not seeing the kind of feverish buying that would signify a market that's participating well on the buy side. So 26.27 is expected to shut it off. And I'm not expecting very much in these tails. These are excesses. The market's showing excess up here. It's 3 minutes. 3 minutes to the open. I'm going to let you go here. Good luck, and hopefully you've got a good a decent picture of where we are for today. Be cautious. Today is likely to be news driven. Take care.